Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sugar-Free Show with myself, Karen Thomson, and nutritionist Emily Maguire. Today we are so excited to have Jess Paige, LCHF, with us on the show. Jess Paige, LCHF founder, launched her blog in 2014 with the intention of educating the masses about all things concerning low carbohydrate diets and recipes to facilitate the lifestyle. Jess, a recovering carboholic, I love this, Jess is my favorite thing, detains a bachelor's degree from the Faculty of Food Sciences and Nutrition from McGill and plans on pursuing a second bachelor's degree in the field of exercise physiology. Welcome to the show, Jess. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay! Hey, Jess. Does my sound work? Okay, sorry, I thought my sound went off there. Thank you for being on. I obviously just spent an amazing amount of time with you in Montreal, which feels like a lifetime ago, but it was actually like a month ago or something. So I know, quite some time ago now. So we just wanted to start just by asking you kind of, how did you even come to sort of LCHF? You know, why low carb, high fat, and kind of what is your story around it? Can you just share that with everyone?
Absolutely. So what happened was my father was quite obese a few years ago, and he went to go see his cardiologist, and he kind of told him, your heart has been enlarged because of how massive you've become. And if you don't change anything, you're going to require a pacemaker before the age of 60. So this was a big shocker to my family because my father has always been someone that's relatively healthy, or we've thought so. He was also pre-diabetic, had a fatty liver. And so his cardiologist actually suggested that he go low carb. Just, cut out the breads, cut out rice, potatoes, all those, just like the basics, kind of starting off. And see where that takes them pertaining to weight loss. And so we decided to go about it as a family, so my mother, myself, and I, just because you can't really do low carb if there's, a whole bunch of treats out there, cookies and all these like things that make you want to not eat low carb. So we all went about it as a group, supporting each other, and what happened was we started seeing like amazing results. My dad was shedding the pounds, the blood panels were coming back perfect, and we kind of didn't really understand what was going on the like carbohydrate level. So we decided to do some research into it, and that's actually when we found low carb, high fat, and decided that that was the route for us. And so we all did that together, and now we're here.
And that kind of what sparked your passion, if you like, for nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Well, my family has always been big on nutrition, except at the beginning when I was younger, it used to be more about like low fat, that kind of thing. So I was always interested in, macronutrients and the different nutritional values of, let's say, products, but never to the extent that I am now. It definitely sparked that interest more. Yeah, lit the fire.
And what would you say is your sort of definition? So what would you say is low carb, high fat? How would you define it, and do you follow it and that type of thing?
Okay. Well, I am keto sometimes, like that's a little bit of a different definition for me, but I basically try to keep it under about 30 grams of carbs net a day, and then I try and get most of my calories from fat, a little bit of protein in there, like moderate amount of protein. It's mostly just about eating real food for me, putting some butter on some stuff, just really going out of my way to add that fat, but also not to be consuming processed foods, because there are a lot of low carb options out there that aren't something I would, just because of the ingredients and stuff.
Okay. So what can you take us through kind of what a typical day would be for you in terms of what you would normally eat?
Absolutely. So in the morning, I wake up, have a cup of coffee or two with some heavy cream. Sometimes if I have a long day ahead of me, I'll add some butter to it, and a scoop of whey protein, and blend that up in the blender so that I can have kind of like a on-the-go breakfast, and then I usually skip lunch just because I'm not hungry. It's not about, caloric deficit or anything. It's really just no hunger. I will keep a little bag of, I have nuts or like little cans of tuna in my locker or in my bag just in case I do get hungry at some point. And then around 7 o'clock, I'll have supper, which usually consists of, well, it's been consisting of eggs a lot lately. I love eggs. But sometimes like a little bit of meat and then some butter on top of that, some mixed veg next to it. Just keeping it.
Yeah, excellent. And then you completed your first BSc, which is in food and nutrition. Am I right in saying I got the title right? Yeah. So, and now you are obviously into your second BSc, which is in exercise physiology. So,
Right.
how are you finding, obviously the knowledge that you have, and I was also similar when I was doing my undergrad and my master's, that you kind of learn about low carb, but pretty much everything you normally learn at uni is, the complete opposite. So are you still finding that at the minute, and how did you kind of sort of deal with that when you were going through your first BSc and now going through your second BSc?
That's a great question. Well, the thing is, when I did my first BSc, we did actually talk a little bit about low carb and specifically ketogenic diets. It was more of a passing thing. They recognized that it was a good way to lose weight quickly and efficiently if you require it. And they like to always talk about how it's good for seizures. But other than that, they basically just said, this is the ketogenic diet. It's a possibility to lose weight. It's an efficient way. However, it's boring. And at that point, I was just about starting keto strictly. Like I was doing low carb, high fat pretty strictly at that point, and I kind of put my hand up and I was like, well, my dad has been doing it for quite a while, and I can attest to it not being boring because it's all about, finding options that you can eat that can replace, what you were eating before. Not so much. It's not like you don't want to deprive yourself of what you like. It's about being creative and finding those other options. Now, with exercise science, what's interesting, I mean, I am in my first year. We're supposed to have a nutrition class near the end of the BSc. But what's interesting is that they're very focused on the physical activity aspect, and they don't really talk about nutrition. Like they're constantly telling us about how exercise is like the third factor out of 5 that will cause cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and etc., which I believe exercise is a big part of, health and stuff like that, but not to the degree that they're talking about. I feel like nutrition is much more important to that. You can't out-exercise a bad diet, so.
And then, that was my voice today. And then coming back, so what Karen touched upon in your bio, which actually I really love that terminology. I haven't seen it before. So the carboholic aspect. So you yourself obviously went, LCHF and kind of obviously along to help your dad and that type of thing. But what was your journey like with it? Did you find it a struggle to kind of give up carbohydrates, and then what kind of things did you do to get to where you are now, and sort of how was your diet before sort of starting LCHF?
The thing with LCHF for me is that I found that I just feel better. I have a lot more mental clarity. I have clearer skin. I'm prone to some autoimmune issues, so having that aspect too has really helped me. At the beginning, I found low carb very difficult, especially being a recovering carboholic, just because being in college, you are surrounded by junk food. You go to the cafeteria, the best thing you can find is maybe some cubes of cheese with grapes. So even there, you're getting a lot of sugar. So it was very difficult for me, and for a while there I was doing on and off LCHF because I'd be home, I'd be eating LCHF, and then I'd go to school, and because I'm so busy, hadn't maybe packed a lunch or prepared enough, and then was so hungry that I had to end up eating these carb-filled foods, and that kind of just went into the vicious cycle of, get addicted to sugar, and then you have a little bit of it, and it makes you want more and more and more. And that's all you would think about. You know, you had some carbs, oh, now I really want blah, blah, blah. So that part was very difficult for me, and I really had to take into account, you know, planning and stuff like that on that aspect. And that's actually why I use bulletproof coffee, because it just keeps me full for such a long time that I don't really have to worry about the whole lunch aspect. I can just kind of skip over it. And also the planning of, let's say, having some cheese on me or having some nuts, that kind of a thing. So at the beginning it was difficult, especially, you know, trying to break that sugar addiction. The first week was actually very easy. But I think it's because I was just so excited about doing it. You know, it's something novel, so I was going about it. But then the second week, being surrounded by all these carbs and sugar, it was just hard.
A lot more difficult. I don't know if Karen was putting her hand up to ask a question. Karen, were you wanting to ask? Yeah.
Yes. So I want to know, Jess, I mean, food addiction and specifically sugar and carb addiction is such a contentious topic, and I get a lot of flack for it. So what are your thoughts? It isn't yet classified in the DSM, and if something's not classified in the DSM, it is not accepted as real. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's very real. I think sugar addiction and carb addiction is extremely real. I know so many people that have come to me. Actually, just recently, someone asked me to put them on a low-carb, high-fat diet, and she was telling me that she is so addicted to carbohydrates that it's to the point of, like, that's all she thinks about. And I see these people in my classes that are on the sugar roller coaster. You can see them every couple of hours munching on something, on that kind of thing, and it's just, it's a very real aspect. It's something that'll take over your mind and make you think about it all day long. And studies have proven that it's more addictive than cocaine. So I don't understand how that could not be an addiction, you know?
No, I mean, I absolutely agree, like 100%. And I believe that sugar hijacks our brain and completely takes over our reward system. So it's really hard to reset that. So what do you say to your clients when they ask you about resetting the brain?
I basically tell them that the first couple of weeks until you break that addiction will be difficult, but once you get through that phase, I mean, it's so rewarding to get through. So it's worth the transition. Can definitely be difficult to break though at the beginning, like any addiction. My dad is actually someone who I consider to be addicted to food because he also doesn't have that mechanism of feeling full. So he's the type of person you could put a whole stick of butter in front of him and he will literally just keep eating at that because there's no mechanism. He's lost all internal cues of when he's full. And that is a lot, has to do too with all the years of consuming sugar and being used to consuming large quantities.
So do you think that in him it will get back to normal, or is it something that has been, like his appetite's just not going to be working again?
It's gotten a little bit better. I'd like to say it's definitely improved, but he still has to be very mindful of what he's consuming. Like, he can easily consume a whole vat full, which is about 500 ml of sour cream in one sitting if he's not thinking it through. And it's not even based on hunger. It's more just, you know, the feedback of it tastes good, so he wants to eat something, and also the connections he's made in his brain of, you know, I've done something well, so now I need a reward, and that reward is food.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, we see that so often. And we were speaking to Professor Noakes about a month ago, and he was saying that in certain people, they've noticed that they can become addicted to fat, to the taste of fat as well. So it's not just sugar and carbs, and I think that's why food addiction encompasses so many different aspects, and that the core of it is such an emotional component, as you were saying, rewarding. So, I mean, what else can you do instead of rewarding yourself with food?
Well, rewarding yourself with food is definitely a bad pathway to kind of build in your mind already, and I think that was instilled in him from young on, unfortunately. But now what we try and do is, like, reward yourself with, you know, like a 5-minute break. You want to go for a little walk, enjoy the nice weather outside, or, you know, if you like, let's say, in my case, I love flowers. So if I did something well, I could get myself a couple of flowers, like fresh flowers, kind of brighten up the place. Something like that versus something that you're going to consume. And what he tries to do now is instead of using food, he'll use sweetened beverages, which I personally still don't think is a great idea, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So he'll drink, for instance, carbonated water that's been flavored with, orange or something like that. So it feels like he's getting something, but at the end of the day, it's, I guess, a little bit better. It's still, the mentality is there, though. Do something well, get a reward. That has to be some kind of intake.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So I think we've got to start finishing off. Do you want to hit Jess with our favorite question?
Yes, our final question. So, can you tell our listeners or watchers what your 3 top tips for giving up sugar would be? And that can be anything from involving food to behavior. So what would your 3 overall top tips be?
Okay. So 3 overall tips to give up sugar. First of all, it's all about planning. If you don't prepare, you will fail because there are so many sugary options out there. So really make sure you have some kind of healthy options on you just in case you do get weak at some point and need to consume something. What else would I say? Also, if you do fall off the boat, I mean, it happens to all of us that one day you're not as good as keeping yourself in check and you'll have some sugar. So just remember, it happens to all of us, and tomorrow's a new day. Or even right after, just go back to the way you've been eating, because one day of sugar is not going to make you unhealthy, just as one day of sugar-free is going to make you healthy. So try and keep that in perspective as well. And number 3, what can I say for number 3? Number 3, well, the whole thing of planning, I said that, be easy on yourself, and mindfulness too. You need to try and remember what you're grateful for, even if it's just, I'm grateful that I did 3 days of sugar-free. Try and stay positive and keep those positive vibes coming to you, because they will keep you on the right track, and you have to focus on the good things in life. It sounds so cheesy.
Oh, no, I love them. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being on with us. So can you just tell everyone where you're at, where they can find you, that type of thing?
Absolutely. So I have Instagram at Jess Paige LCHF, same for Twitter and Pinterest. Also on Facebook at Jess Paige LCHF, and I have a blog, www.jesspagelchf.wordpress.com.
Perfect, and we'll put all those links up as well, and you do put up some amazing food pictures and recipes, so definitely check out Instagram and Facebook on there as well. So I think that's everything from us. Corin, do you have anything else you want to add, or?
No, just thank you so much for coming on the show and for being such a strong and fresh and positive voice in the low carb, high fat field. It's amazing interacting with you. You're brilliant on Instagram, and you guys should definitely follow her. We're out.
Bye guys. Bye Jess. Thank you.